Welcome to Let's Get Metaphysical, the show that stretches you beyond your five senses. When you are looking for your next step on the path into the unseen, we've got you covered. Join epic adventure seekers and level up your game with your host, reality magician Bierman.
Today's episode was recorded on the Wisdom app. That's Wisdom, Listen, and Learn. You will notice that there's another person participating in the conversation. That's what I love about the Wisdom app. All you do is click join as a guest and I'll invite you in. Unfortunately, the Wisdom Listen and Learn is only available at this time on iOS. If you have an Apple device, you can listen live and participate. I'm usually in there at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays and Fridays. And for now, sit back and enjoy. And what I have found to be the number one most important relationship that most people don't realize is the one you have with yourself. And how do I know that? Because for 25 years of doing the kinesiology work that I do, I talk directly to the spirit. Your conscious mind's never going to be able to help to define what's keeping you stuck in your life, what's causing your physical, emotional, or spiritual pain. Can't access that through your conscious mind. So the work that I do, speaking directly to spirit, it's incontrovertible. It's absolute fact that every single person on whom and with whom I've worked in person and long distance has a disconnect with who they really are, who the true self is. I'm not talking about love yourself first. Yes, it's mandatory. You can't give what you don't have. And if you don't love yourself first, why would you expect anybody else to love you? Because it's whatever energy you're putting out there. So the relationship having, or actually not having, with who you really are in the world is that basicness. So everything that's off in our life, every aspect of our life comes from relationship disconnects, a whole history of them, starting sometimes all the way back in the womb. And I even had one person come to me who came into the lifetime with that. Now, when you talk about family miasms and family patterns and things that aren't necessarily in the genes, but they're in behavior patterns that we usually don't recognize from generation to generation. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual experiences that people have in relationships. And every relationship where we experience some kind of hurt, there's an energy block that happens. And those energy blocks happen in your organs, in your glands, in your chakras, in your meridians, in your energy bodies. Now, if we catch them when they're still in the energy body, then they never have to go into your physical body. But the fact is that any one emotional theme that happens, and I've talked to you about this before, any emotional theme never has one incident that causes it. Somebody was doing his brand of therapy with me. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, and he'd come with this one single theme, and I'm knowing in my mind, you're not really helping anybody when you're coming at it that way, and it's too vague, and it's not clearing things, and if all you look at is the chakras, then you're missing all the other dimensions where the blocks are happening, and that's why, if you have heard before, the neurons that fire together, wire together, every experience you have, not an isolated one here and an isolated one there, but every single experience that you have, whether you're consciously pulling it in or more likely not consciously putting in, is causing the block. And they all build up. They make what I call file folders. So your file folder for any one emotion can have thousands of documents. What's a document? It's each incident that happened on that emotional theme. Some of them happened in your physical body. Some of them happened in your spiritual body. Some of them happened in your emotional body. All of them are going into that folder. That's why somebody works with you on only one dimension of your body. Yeah, they might help you somewhat. And I emphasize the somewhat because it's not going to be cleared out totally. It can't be, because your body's the most complex computer in the whole world. Your body, mind, spirit. Now, of course, you also know you aren't your body, you aren't your mind. Who you are and what you are is the conscious awareness, the observer of everything that's going on. And that observer is what exists from one lifetime to the next and to the next and to the next. So when you come into the world and you say, wow, where did I get these interests? Wow, how come I have all of these talents? It's not because it's in your genes. It's because it's who you are, the eternal part of you, that conscious awareness. So how do we deal with where you are in your lifetime when you're working with yourself? There's a lot of heat on. It's really, really cold here in kind of upstate New York. So I don't like the heat. Makes it a little more challenging to breathe. Anyway, so I was talking about all the emotional themes that are going on. They're all related. And when you understand that who you are is that conscious awareness, and when you recognize an emotional theme, you can clear it, and you can clear the thousands of programs attached to it. But so how do you clear that? How do you clear an emotional theme that's going on through all of the different systems in your body that create your life? They are creating your physical life, your emotional life, your spiritual life. And anytime anything's amiss, it's because of the blocks, thousands of them, filling one file folder, each file folder. That's why when I work with a person, my usual session, the usual session time, 99% of people, it's an hour and a half long. And that's working nonstop, of information coming up, of information going into the circuit, of information telling me this is what's wrong, this is where it's wrong, this is how we get rid of it. So that's the norm. I had one client who every session was 3 hours. So a lot of stuff gets stored out of your awareness. It's often said to be, and I know I've said it myself, in your subconscious mind. And here's the reason that I say it's in your subconscious mind, because it's all that stuff, all those programs, they're out of your awareness. So early on in my teaching, my most popular book, I think I've mentioned it here before, I'm not sure. It's called What You Don't Know How Your Brain and Mind Keep You Stuck. It's a short book, and it was on the bestsellers list, a number of them, for 15 months. I have never advertised it. I released it to Amazon. I'd written it years before Amazon, and I was distributing it. And having never advertised it, people really like it, possibly because it's a short read, possibly because I'm pretty clear. People often tell me when they read my work, or when I'm teaching a class, or when I'm delivering a talk, that they finally understood something that I was never able to understand before. I guess that's one of the gifts the universe gave me, was being able to offer the clarity. So that book, What You Don't Know How Your Brain and Mind Keep You Stuck, is a really good introduction to what's keeping you stuck, out of your awareness. And I talk about how a simplistic way of viewing what is your conscious mind and what is your subconscious mind. And I think that's what people really get, that helps them a lot, because what the psychologists will tell you, and I question how psychological studies are done, because they're not done in your home, in your normal life circumstances. They're doing it in a laboratory that has nothing to do with how you live in moment to moment interacting. So just to throw, obviously, my personal opinion out there, But just to get you thinking, when you're reading all these studies that say people do this or people think that, or people have 35,000 decisions to make every day. Well, maybe they do, and maybe it's the way the data was collected that causes it to have those numbers. So, in my opinion, what's important is what's important to you. If you've never heard of Dr. David Hawkins, he is no longer with us on this planet. When you study consciousness and the definition of what is consciousness, of what spirituality, and get through to the true facts, he is like the world authority. Wrote lots and lots and lots of books, was specialized kinesiologist and MD. I think he was also a minister, and so I've been studying his work in depth because it makes such total sense to me. And the fascinating thing is, if you're studying awareness or conscious awareness or what's spirituality, or you're new on your path to what is metaphysics, all these people who are the popular people out there, they're all saying the same thing he did. I don't think they're saying it because they're going in and stealing his stuff. In fact, one of the episodes in my Let's Get Metaphysical Connecting Heart and Mind podcast is with someone where I went into a really, really, really deep discussion on this topic. And it's somebody really special. And I haven't released that episode yet. And it probably won't be released for another 2 weeks. And that was our discussion. I asked him, do you think there's a universal mind? And every thought and every possibility is out there. And what we do as individuals is we can tune into it and pull something out. And he went through, like me, he studied back in the ancient Greeks, because when it comes down to metaphysics, it's not New Age. It's the facts of how everything has always existed. And we can go back to recorded history and find it in all the early philosophers. And this particular guest, like me, had gone back and studied the early philosophers and come up through time and studied the current metaphysicians. And by the way, if you have something to add, if you have a question, please click to join. So, okay, let's see, there's somebody here coming in. And he's joining us to be here in just 3, 2, 1. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm catching the beginning of your conversation of metaphysics and universe mind inside you. Is that what I heard?
What I was talking about, a discussion that I had on one of my most recent podcast guests, where it hasn't gone live yet, where I asked him, do you think there's a universal mind? And we all tune into it so we can pull out what fits for us. And he referred to the unified field and the superconscious and all the different names that people use for it. So that's
right.
what I was... Okay, so you're pulling
from the universe.
Yeah, and it's not the fact, if you read all the different spiritual teachers, it's not because they're copying each other. I was talking about Dr. David Hawkins, which I can't recommend him highly enough, and his work is so complex and he's so prolific. What I did was being a very avid Audible member, I went and found it's a whole collection of his works. So it's highlighting all these different aspects, because otherwise you'll be there forever just doing his books.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could relate to that. Definitely.
Yeah, so, and where I went into that is the most important relationship in the whole world that I've seen from all the work I've done with individuals is people don't know who they are, so they can't connect with who they really are, and that really is what's causing all these blocks in any other kind of relationship, in your work life, in your social life, in your health. All of it comes from primarily not knowing who you are yourself. That's my own experience with all the clients I've worked with.
Right. And it truly is amazing how being here on the Wisdom app, I'm quite shocked that there are others out there believing of the consciousness of the mind as well as, the universe itself,
Mm-hmm.
where I have a theory, and it's my personal theory, really,
Yeah.
that us being human, because we are our own galaxy in ourselves, among everyone else out here, we're all like stars in the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
That every time we recreate some bit of art or a novel, we write up a novel, we're either pulling from the universe that there is this place that does exist, and we're actually seeing it in our mind's eye. And we're
Mm-hmm.
writing this novel because it's somewhere in the cosmos on the other side of the world, or the universe, or however, whatever. And
Yeah.
we're writing it.
Yeah. I believe that everything I create, I don't really take credit for creating anything, even though I say I write it or I compose it or I paint it. I know darn well that it's exactly what you just described. I know it's out there and I pull it in, and that was the discussion I was having with the person I was interviewing. It's like, I'm really creative. I mean, I've done anything you can think of.
No, I agree with you. I think we're jumping on that mind wave. We're grabbing that mind string
Yeah.
that conscious thought that's floating through space or time or however
Yeah.
you want to describe it,
Yeah.
and we're picking up on that reading of, like, to us it's like reading a book, and we're gravitating towards it, and then once we start to explore it a little bit more, then we realize, wow, this is a reality. Okay. To us on the planet, we're sitting here writing this novel of whatever it is that we're writing, and then we say it's fiction. No, I'm sorry. I don't believe that that's fiction. I believe that is actually a place that is across the cosmos somewhere that we yet as human beings cannot get to, if that makes any sense.
Of course it makes sense, but I also, because I study nature and plants are actually very superior to us. And if you can stay and watch a plant for an hour, you'll see how it moves. You'll see how it climbs a wall. Like, how the heck does it climb up a concrete wall? What is it, or a wood wall? What is it grabbing onto? You can't see surfaces. But the experiments that have been done show that the communication between plants is instantaneous and goes across light years, which is far superior to what we consciously do as humans.
That's interesting that you say that, and that's a possibility that might be the communication similar to the telecommunications that we're doing through the airwaves at the moment right now.
Yeah.
That could be that the plants are picking up, those strings of communications that are in the cosmos across the world or the universe, and then yet we're picking up on that string, but the only reason why we're picking up on the string is through the plants. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
That is
Well,
very intriguing.
everything that's in your life, including your plants, including your pets, everything is there, not by accident. You learn from your plants, you learn from your pets. I had, was actually my spirit guide, and he still is, even though he's not here anymore. He was a cat. He was a spirit in a cat suit. And, really stupid vet did something to him that made him deaf. And even
I'm
though
sorry.
he was deaf, and we had the most extraordinary communication. He couldn't hear anything, but we communicated with each. We didn't need to have a sound to communicate. And there's so many studies done on plants where they have mechanisms and they'll duplicate them hundreds of times. So if you look for books on the secret life of plants or the secret wisdom of nature, you'll see all those studies and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've experienced it.
Yeah, if you let yourself, you really open your world. So when I'm talking about knowing who you are, what I'm really referring to is who you are, that eternal spirit that goes lifetime to lifetime, and how you are in your current body. That's your vehicle to get from point A to point B in your soul growth. So knowing what is everything in your world and what you're attracting and why you're attracting it, because only with awareness do you get the full picture of, oh, all of this is contributing to who I am.
Right. I have two cats that I did not necessarily wanted. I lost my one cat. She had passed away. She grew old and died, and it was a little sad. And then my wife was like, I really miss our baby girl. I'm like, I know. Are you really wanting another cat? She's like, well, yeah, it would be nice. I'm like, well, be careful what you wish for, because she may come back again. And all of a sudden I had this little black cat with green eyes show up out of nowhere as a feral cat. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I had to literally trap him and catch him because he was a little baby, like a kitten, and wild. And he still is wild, even though that he's a feral cat. He's not, he's his own being, and I don't stop him. And I brought him in, and he's like a warrior or something. He's a trip. And every time someone new comes to the house, he stares at him, and those eyes look right through everyone. And his eyes are about, huge, solid black eyes. And everybody's like, oh my God, what is wrong with your cat? And I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just watching you, making sure that, he can trust you. And they're like, he's not going to attack me, is he? Well, don't do anything that you're going to, don't attack him. Don't make any sudden movements. Don't be aggressive to us, and you'll be fine. You be aggressive to us, he's going to attack you.
I'm laughing because I had a friend who was a very high anxiety friend, and she had a cat who was a high anxiety, and cat would hide in the hallway, and you'd be walking by, and it would attack you.
Yeah, jump right out and just grab you as you walk by.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like cats a lot. I prefer cats more than dogs, really.
Me too. If you want to come back, let me know. What Mindwave was telling us about the cat and what how it responded and how it appeared out of nowhere. It reminded me, all of my cats adopted me. The first one came to our door, and we took her in, and then we didn't know she was sick, and she had feline leukemia and died. And I was really sad because I really communicate with cats. And at one point, my husband at the time said, there's a cat adoption today. Let's go to it. And I said, I don't think I'm ready for another cat. And he said, well, come on, we'll go. We'll see if there's anything there. So I walk in, and there are these two cats, and they were different breeds, but they were racist brothers. And they reached out and grabbed me. Now, here's what's extraordinary. I mean, literally, they physically reached out with their paws. So he took them home. And when I got them home, my first cat, Samantha, she and I had created these really neat games. I think cats may be more spiritually developed, in some ways smarter than we are, from my experience with my cats. So we had these really fun games that she and I made up, and sometimes I made them up, and sometimes she made them up, and she always made it clear what she wanted me to do for her. So I missed her, and I brought these two cats home, and between the two of them, they played every game that Samantha and I had made up that we played with each other. So I had no doubt at all that our spirit goes on when the body's gone. We're not the body, because it was clear that Samantha was here. And the other thing that happened is, after Samantha left, the house felt empty. If you're sensitive to energy, you know what I'm talking about. the house just felt kind of dead. And my kids were grown and gone by then, were they? Anyway, when I brought those two cats in and Samantha's behaviors came in those two cats, the house was alive again. I knew her energy was there. And she didn't stay. She left. It was like she came to teach these two guys all the stuff she wanted them to know. And then she left. The house never felt dead again. So imagine extending that into completing who you are. Hold on, I think he's back again. Okay, so let's continue with what we were talking about then.
Yeah, I wanted to add with the one cat that we had, and we named him Binks, which was after the movie Hocus Pocus, if you've ever seen it. And then we had another cat about a year later, a baby cat that was hanging around, and I swear to God that they were brothers. My cat as well as this other little black cat, and he two different personalities. And the other little black cat, we named him Thackeray, so we got Thackeray Binks, which is really, really kind of cute. And they're both black cats. And the little guy, I had to basically nurse him back to health. He was a tiny little thing, and I don't know if he got lost from his mom or what, or he followed my cat, or what exactly happened. But I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and keep them both because it seems like they both need each other, and now they could never go without each other. Now, they're always together and always sleeping together and playing every now and then. It is just so awesome to see that, because it's the same exact thing with my previous cat that we once had. It's like she came back in him, the second cat that I got.
Yeah.
Because he does the same exact things that she does, that she used to do a long time ago. And both of these are male cats. And I'm not too fond of male cats because they have a different attitude than the female cats do. But I was like, okay, I'm not going to, fine, that's no biggie. And they're definitely more territorial, I noticed, than the female cats are.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just funny to see the type of constant reaction that they do and how they act are so similar from the spirit going on and coming back. I definitely am a firm believer in reincarnation. I mean, there has to be. I cannot accept anything else but that.
What do you see as how those cats are contributing to your life and your wife? Can you notice relationships and how it impacts you guys?
Oh, yeah. I mean, these individual cats that we got are definitely, old spirit, I guess say spirit guides, or some form of a relationship between them and us. I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm not sure if it, human existence. It seems human existence because I can talk to him like a normal human being and go, no, we're not doing that. You just got into a fight. You're not going outside. You're grounded. I told you fight. You're not going outside. Simple as that. And he gets upset with me. And it's like, no. And he knows what I'm talking about. He ain't stupid. And it's like, come on, you want to eat? Come on. You're going to eat, or you're going to sit there and want to go outside? And it's like, okay. And then he knows what I'm saying. So there's definitely some type of deeper spiritual connection there that goes beyond the physical realm, for sure. I can't put my finger on exactly who it is or what it is. You know what I mean?
Does it matter?
No, not at all. All I know is that I know him. He knows me very well. I had an experience that was very interesting one night. I was pretty shooken up. There was a loud noise around my house and some sirens and cops and some stuff was going on surrounding my house. I jumped up in the middle of the night out of bed, and I, just having, my skivvies on, I kind of ran out into the living room, and I kind of like standing there like in a defense mode of getting ready to attack whatever is outside my house wandering in, and my cat is literally in front of me in a position where my cat is going to attack with me, and I could not believe that. I was beside myself that my cat was in front of me. It wasn't going to be me in front of him. It was him in front of me, and whatever was going to come through the house had to go through him before it could get to me. And that was a very surreal experience, that my cat was on guard mode, and then the second one stood on the other side, more behind me, and was kind of watching a little bit on the back outskirts. So it was a weird kind of, I guess, like a military type stance. Like, you had your peons, and you had your lieutenants, and then you had the captain, and then you had the soldiers, and that's what it felt like, in a way, of a animal type environment, of an alpha and a beta, I guess.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your book. That sounds like it made a great book.
An alpha and an omega?
That whole incident that you just described, especially if you could figure out a way to write it as a children's book so it wouldn't be threatening, but just for the experience. That's what I'm seeing.
That would be a very, very interesting book.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I like to live in the country, and when I had my cat, and he had lost his brother to, well, see, this is interesting too, because he lost his brother to a brain tumor, and I had a brain tumor. So, because I lived in the country, there were voles and there were mice, and the mouse got in the house, and he kept bringing it to me. It's like my hero.
I got dinner. Here you go.
I didn't want to take it because I didn't know if the thing was dead. I didn't know if it was safe to touch it. And he'd just be standing there with it in his mouth for the longest time. And so I got a waste paper basket. I told him, drop it in here. But he didn't know what I wanted him to do. He wanted me to take it. So after a while, I don't know if he had to take a breath or what, he dropped it. But then don't you think he went and got it again? So, yeah, I'm sure he was taking... Oh, he always took care of me. He did the most amazing things even after he left and his spirit was back. Oh, he did really funny things to make his presence known. Until I talked to him, spirit to spirit, he told me what his name actually is, because he isn't actually a cat. He was just a cat in this lifetime.
Yeah, and my wife is completely afraid of mice. She is definitely afraid of mice. She does not like mice at all. And my boys will not bring us mice. They won't bring us lizards. They won't bring us mice. They won't bring us any of that, which is really interesting because that's not normal for a cat. Usually a cat will bring an offering. They always bring an offering of something that they caught and killed, or it's like, here, I'm giving this to you. These boys don't do that. They will not do that, actually. And it's quite shocking.
Those cats are highly spiritual. I believe all cats are spiritual, but your cats remind me of mine, and it's like, wow, definitely a book to explore.
Yeah, I'll have to try to see if I can do something like that.
Yeah, I actually wrote a book about my cat when I lost him because he was so phenomenal. It was so clear that he was here to support me. And he had, at one point after the vets hurt him, because the vet actually caused brain damage. And, it didn't just make him deaf. It was really sad what happened at first. And a number of cat whisperers said, he's near the end. And it looked like to them, one of them was a really good friend of mine. She said, he's going to be dying soon. And I needed him, and he knew I needed him. And he came back to life. Like, he was 17 years old, and he was like an 8-year-old, and he was frisky and strong and all that, because I needed him, and he responded to me.
Wow.
So that's why I tell everybody listening, your pets come to you for a reason, just like your kids. And I'm just thinking, because kids choose their parents because they want to have particular life lessons. So you choose the family you're going into. And I'm just recognizing that's got to be true for our pets too, and our plants. You know, if you go into a nursery and you see all these plants, chances are you're attracted to one or the other, and it's communicating, it's calling to you. And that's not something we have in our awareness, but it's something that all these experiments have proved. So, and the pets do the same thing. So if you go into an adoption or you go into the shelter to choose an animal, it's actually the animal choosing you, and it all happens out of your awareness. And I never said all that before because I never thought of it before, but it's coming out loud and clear, and I think that my spirit guide is definitely feeding that to me right now. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you disappeared. Oh, okay. Does anybody have any other thoughts on how everything that's in your world contributes? Everything contributes to who you are and how you are in the world and how you are in life. And if you look at what you're attracting, you can get a much better picture, a clearer, fuller picture of who you are. And for the people in your family and in your social network, you teach people how to train you by what behaviors do you allow from other people, and where do you draw the line and you don't allow them. So for people who see themselves as victims, you might want to take another look and see what kind of behaviors am I allowing, even though I don't like them and don't want them. But there they are in my world, and finally take responsibility for the fact that you're allowing them to be in your world. There are no accidents in the world. Everything happens perfectly, happens for a beautiful and divine reason, even the stuff that's really, really painful. So when I had the brain tumor and it just took away life as I used to know it because of the nerve damage that happened, it was still one of the greatest gifts of my life. I don't know anybody who had a major, major life-altering experience physically or emotionally who didn't see the gift in it and didn't say it was because of that I turned my life around, or because of that. Often a person's hitting rock bottom in their life and they're finally motivated to change, to do some things differently. Now, when I worked in crisis care and I was in mainstream psychology, I saw a lot of people who were stuck, and they blamed pretty horrific circumstances, which, I mean, I knew what they were because that was the work that I did then. And there are some parents, but it's not just the parents. Look at all the people out there who are in domestic violence situations. There aren't any accidents. And everything's in our energy, and we always have choice. And the way a domestic violence perpetrator controls a person's mind and they brainwash them, and it happens so subtly that it's easy from the outside to see what's happening, but the person who's the victim very rarely sees it. So I was privileged to work with somebody who left her abusive partner, and he had hurt her many times, and it was a scary, scary situation. And it was really scary having her with me because we always hoped that she was safe, and we had to be careful when we went out of the house. So who you are in the world there's a lot to it. And the more you have an awareness of who you are and how you're being, then you can start to make sense of who you're attracting into your world. When people think they're falling in love and they're in the honeymoon phase, and maybe it's the first year or the first 17 months of their marriage, and then all of a sudden one day they wake up and say, who's this stranger I married? Or who's this stranger I'm living with? And you don't understand what's going on. The way people are actually attracted to each other, it's out of your awareness, but it's in your energy, loud and clear. And there's one theory, it's called imagotherapy, might be the term of the therapy, or it's stating that people are looking for a relationship that duplicates the one they had with their early caretakers, only this time they're going to do it right. All this is happening on a level out of awareness. So look at, in your situation, how many characteristics of your partner or your potential partner, if you really can step back out of the situation, how much of it in who they are emotionally or spiritually or physically duplicate your early caretaker and early parent. And that's why people could go from relationship to relationship to relationship, from marriage to marriage to marriage. It's because they keep attracting the same person because they have that same energy in their energy, and they're looking to attract a person that has that other same energy. And the person might have a different name and a different face, but it's really the same person. I knew a couple who, after they got divorced, the guy remarried, and I was in shock when I met his wife because she literally looked like the first wife. She sounded like the first wife. And I'm guessing that she was like the first wife in many other ways. So that was a very vivid example of what I was talking about, of looking for somebody to duplicate a relationship, only you're going to get it right this time. But what if instead of looking to the other person, because you know it is never about the other person, never, never, not ever. It's always about you. What do I mean by it's always about you? It's not that you're to blame for things that go wrong. On the other hand, you are responsible for how you interpret what does and doesn't happen. You're responsible for how you accept or refuse to accept behaviors in the other person. So when I say it's all about you, it is all about you. You're in charge of who you allow in your world. You're in charge of who you allow into your life. And if you're somebody thinking about getting into a relationship and you're thinking, I've heard this too often, if he really loves me, he'll change. Step back and notice how deeply that's about, that the other person isn't who you need him or her to be unless he or her changes to what you think is right, how you think somebody has to be in relationship with you. The tricky part of relationships is so many people pretend to be somebody they're not because they want to attract a certain person. I personally am me, and what you see is what you get. And I'm not aware of being anybody other than who I am, nor have I ever been aware. I don't pretend to be somebody so I can attract a certain person. It's important to me to live as who I know myself to be. And when I grow and I change, I'm still the person who changed, and I'm the person behaving and thinking and acting differently. And I'm not pretending to be anyone different. So after 32 years of being married to somebody who I thought had all the same likes and dislikes, let that be a word of caution to you. If somebody agrees with all your tastes and agrees with all the furniture and all the patterns and where you live and everything in your life, and they're totally agreeable with you, Start asking them to make the choices first. Start wondering about the veracity of somebody who's living like that. Because you owe it to yourself to be your best self, and you do that by knowing who you really are. Not who you're pretending to be, not who other people tell you you are, because that's not who you are at all. You're not your self-image. Your self-image didn't even come from you. And when you realize that, then you can claim who you are, who you choose to be, how you choose to interpret what goes on in your world, and what fits for you and what doesn't fit for you, and what's acceptable to you in the other person's behavior and what isn't. And that's okay, because not everybody's supposed to be our partner. The cool thing about getting older is recognizing that you are your best friend. And if you aren't yet, I urge you to do what you need to do to become your best friend. You don't need anyone or anything outside of you to be happy and to be fulfilled. And if you think you do, step back again and look at who you are. When I teach that, when I'm teaching a relationship class, and I throw it out to the people attending, say, what's your most important relationship? Who is it with? I have never had anybody say me. Never. And that's probably why when I'm doing kinesiology work on a client, that's what crops up first and foremost. The disconnect of the relationship that one has with oneself. Because we don't really know who we truly are, because we let other people define us. And it takes getting older and having more life experience and changing your priorities so you get clarity and you can see things from a perspective you didn't see before. And if it sounds like I'm generalizing, I am. I'm generalizing to my cohorts, to people who are seniors, who are older, who have come to the same place I have. Life just looks different. People who think they have to have that somebody else in their life. After I got divorced, I dated quite a bit. Not because I was looking to get married. Definitely not because I was looking to get married. But because I always liked guys. They were just more interesting to me. I was a tomboy when I was little. Sadly, you couldn't be a tomboy in the 1950s. It was looked down upon. So I just was friends with boys because I like sport. I like to climb trees and play ball and be outdoors. I didn't want to be in the house and play school. Sorry, but that's, it makes me laugh to think people used to be like that. Thank goodness it's not that way anymore. I didn't raise my kids that way. And most definitely my grandchildren are not being raised that way. So civilization evolves and culture does evolve. And as Dr. David Hawkins explains, he calibrates the energy level. Well, he's not here anymore to do it live, but his book, Power and Force, has all these charts that you can see. Everybody vibrates at a certain frequency, and the frequency now is higher than it used to be, and it jumped higher because people are waking up now. It's a different world. It's a different environment. Thank goodness. It's still high pressure, so I look forward to that going away, for people being more from their hearts instead of, oh, look who I am and look what I'm doing. I think there's less of that today. Well, not if you go on social media. You're going to see a bunch of people who aren't really living the lives that they share with you as their true lives. Anyway, when I mentioned earlier the book, What You Don't Know, How Your Brain and Mind Keep You Stuck, I created a special gift. And right now I'm sharing that gift. I was sharing it just with my podcast listeners, but I decided to share it with you guys too, because after all, you're listening to something I'm sharing in an audio modality. So not only the digital book, but I also made an audio recording to go with it, and I'm selling the pair instead of going to Amazon on my website. Okay, now I have to remember where it is because I have 2 websites. No, I have 4 websites. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you can find it at letgetmetaphysicalshow.com/special-offer. I'm pretty sure that's right. Pretty sure there's a hyphen between special and offer. So let's get metaphysical show.com/special-offer. And the special price that I have it for now is $9.97. And I know thousands of people have changed their lives just from the digital book. And I decided to add the audio to it. So go ahead and grab it while it's still there. I'm not sure how long I'll grab it there, but I definitely want people to move into a happier place and more clarity, especially this holiday season, to finish out your year powerfully, knowing and loving who you are. Because heck, if you don't love you, why would anybody else? I wish you a day filled with blessings, and I'll be back here whenever I can. I have all these new commitments that popped up, and a lot of them tend to be at the same time I've been talking with you. So I'll be here whenever I'm able to be here, and look forward to connecting with you. I'm always aiming for 10 a.m., and I'll get here whenever it works for me to be here. So I wish you a day filled with blessings, because your world's filled with blessings. Allow yourself to see them, and then you'll know why I live in happiness regardless of circumstances. And you can too. It's up to you. So enjoy, capital I-N, capital J-O-Y, exclamation point, because everything happens within.
You've been listening to a talk on the wilder side. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Metaphysical. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a single episode, and while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every Monday for more exciting insights and wisdom on life beyond your 5 senses. Until next time, take a small step in a new direction. Start now.